Hey, it's Mandy Moore.
Sterling K. Brown.
And Chris Sullivan from That Was Us.
Spring is finally here. And if you're like us, you're looking for little ways to bring new energy into your home, starting with your bed.
I love everything about Brooklinen. I love the variety of colors. I love the texture. I love the coolness up against my skin. I'm a man who runs hot. These sheets keep your boy cool, and I love them.
Brooklinen makes it so easy to refresh your space with layers that feel light, breathable, and so comfortable. Finding sheets you love can be tricky, but Brooklinen nails it every time.
Brooklinen offers so many different tones and textures, which is great, since new colors can make your bedroom feel fresh and inviting. Plus, their lightweight, airy fabrics are perfect for sun-kissed mornings and cozy nights.
And the best part? Brooklinen has everything you need, from soft sheets to the perfect throw blankets to style and layer your bed effortlessly.
It's no wonder they have over 100,000 five-star reviews. People love them. So if you're ready to refresh your space, now is the time.
Shop award winners and fan faves in-store and online at brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com. Get 15% off your first order today.
Atheists, agnostics, long-haired weirdos, short-haired weirdos, vandals, hooligans.
The government, hug the government, love the government, hug the government, love the government.
Welcome to The Politics Guys, a place for bipartisan, rational, and civil debate on American politics and policy. I'm Trey Orndorff, a political scientist at Oklahoma Christian University, and I'm joined by Ken Katkin, professor of law at Chase Law School. Ken, welcome to the midweek show.
Hey, it is great to be back.
Yeah, it's always fun because if you've been listening for a while, i.e. the last several years, you know that what Ken and I do for the Supporters Exclusive show is a little bit different than what the other guys do. We have been going by listener request through the United States Constitution. And it has begun a number of years ago. We started with the preamble. We've moved our way forward. We've made it through all of the major original articles of the text. We then moved to the Bill of Rights. And now we've been kind of finishing up, if you will, with the final amendments. And we actually dealt with a couple of them in a little weird way. We've already taken care of the 21st Amendment when we dealt with prohibition a few shows ago. And so today for this show, we're going to be tackling both the 20th and the 22nd Amendment to the United States Constitution. And it's going to take us just a minute because although neither of these has like a ton of court cases or things like that for some of the items we've done, especially the 20th Amendment is not a short amendment. So we always start by reading that, and that's what I'm going to do. And then we're going to delve into some of the history of it. And so the 20th Amendment says this, starting in Section 1. The terms of the president and vice president shall end at noon on the 20th day of January, and the terms of senators and representatives at noon on the 3rd day of January, of the years in which such terms would have ended if this article had not been ratified, and the terms of their successors shall then begin. Section 2, the Congress shall assemble at least once in every year, and such meeting shall begin at noon on the 3rd day of January, unless they shall by law appoint a different day. Section 3, if at the time fixed for the beginning of the term of president, the president-elect shall have died, the vice president-elect shall become president. If a president shall not have been chosen before the time fixed for the beginning of his term, or if the president-elect shall have failed to qualify, then the vice president-elect shall act as president until a president shall have qualified, and the Congress may by law provide for the case wherein neither a president-elect nor a vice president-elect shall have qualified, declaring who shall then act as president, or the manner in which one who is to act shall be selected, and such person shall act accordingly until a president or vice president shall have qualified. Section 4. The Congress may by law provide for the case of the death of any of the persons from whom the House of Representatives may choose a president, whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them, and for the case of the death of any of the persons for whom the Senate may choose a vice president, whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them. Section 5. Sections 1 and 2 shall take effect on the 15th day of October following the ratification of this article. And finally, Section 6. This article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states within 7 years from the date of its submission. And that is the 20th Amendment. And so there's a lot happening there, and yet it's not as much as it might seem in some ways. But the 20th Amendment really has, and you've heard, two principal sections. One dealing with the start date for the regular term of the Senate and the House is January 3rd of the year following their election, and January 20th for the president. And this is much further forward than it was from 1788 forward, which had it at March 4th. And we'll talk a little bit about that. This second section then requires Congress shall commence a new session each year on January 3rd, unless it appoints another day. And as we've talked about in previous episodes, in the original text of the Constitution, in Article 1, Section 4, it provided for sessions beginning on December 5th. And what this does is it allows for 2 regular sessions for each of the 2 years. And the rest of it is really just used to implement the article, including issues of the president-elect dying or if no one is qualified, something people were worried about in the wake of things like the election of 1800. And you might ask yourself, like, what was the purpose of all this? Why even have the 20th Amendment? It seems a little weird maybe for our point of view.
Hey, it's Mandy Moore.
Sterling K. Brown.
And Chris Sullivan from That Was Us.
Spring is finally here. And if you're like us, you're looking for little ways to bring new energy into your home, starting with your bed.
I love everything about Brooklinen. I love the variety of colors. I love the texture. I love the coolness up against my skin. I'm a man who runs hot. These sheets keep your boy cool, and I love them.
Brooklinen makes it so easy to refresh your space with layers that feel light, breathable, and so comfortable. Finding sheets you love can be tricky, but Brooklinen nails it every time.
Brooklinen offers so many different tones and textures, which is great, since new colors can make your bedroom feel fresh and inviting. Plus, their lightweight, airy fabrics are perfect for sun-kissed mornings and cozy nights.
And the best part? Brooklinen has everything you need, from soft sheets to the perfect throw blankets to style and layer your bed effortlessly.
It's no wonder they have over 100,000 5-star reviews. People love them. So if you're ready to refresh your space, now is the time.
Shop award winners and fan faves in-store and online at brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com. Get 15% off your first order today.
The old system had created 4 months for retiring or defeated congresspersons to effectively be a lame duck Congress. And that created an ability for it to pass significant legislation without any kind of accountability. And this had come up a number of times, but maybe never more quite as prominently as in 1932, when it really hampered the ability of government to act quickly during the outset of the Great Depression. And the real reason behind all of this was time travel. The March date was so that the people of the 18th century could make it to the Capitol. That was a treacherous time for people to move. If you have read or looked at any kind of accounts of individuals getting around in the country, James Madison, for example, had very deep difficulty getting to the Capitol. The transportation was not what it was today. But that alone really wasn't enough to get the 20th Amendment moving forward. It took efforts by Republican President Warren Harding. He had pushed a ship subsidy bill through a lame duck Congress in 1922 and renewed that impetus to cause a limitation of it when he brought it again as a result of individuals not wanting it. What this bill was going to do is really a centerpiece of what was called ironically, from our point of view, Harding's America First program, which was designed to expand the nation's merchant fleet ship. And it was opposed by labor and farm groups as a grab by commercial interests. And so this is a big issue. Republicans will take a huge hit. The bill will fail to pass in 2120. It becomes a big issue for the midterm elections in 22. And as a result, Republicans are going to lose seats in the Senate. They're going to lose 7 in the Senate, 70 in the House. But before they're gone, Harding is going to call a special session of that lame duck Congress in November 20 of 1922 to try to get done what he couldn't do beforehand, and nearly got his way. And that took up and gave an individual who had not been much interested in this a chance to do that, which is the senator from Nebraska. Oh my goodness, I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden, Ken.
The senator from Nebraska in the 1930s.
Yeah. For the
I don't know.
George Norris. My apologies. And he would be the huge pull to put this forward. And as a matter of fact, as Dr. Larson of Pepperdine recently has put it, this whole episode became, quote, Exhibit A in the case for the 20th Amendment, end quote. And so although Norris and others had not originally wanted the 20th Amendment, in the aftermath of that battle over the ship subsidy bill, this will get him and others to push it through, and it ends up passing the Senate by a large margin to become a part of the Constitution. So, again, Ken, I know that one of the things that's always great about having you on the show is you just have such a deep knowledge of Supreme Court cases. But the 20th Amendment is the only portion, it's the only amendment of my knowledge that has had no Supreme Court cases.
No, I don't have a whole lot to add to what you already said. That was a very good summary. A couple things I would maybe slightly add. There's people are maybe sometimes interested in, what kinds of things in our Constitution were clearly mistakes. And I think one of the things that was clearly a mistake in the original Constitution is that it actually required in Article 1, Section 4, Clause 2, that Congress meet at least once a year, and the default date for that is the first Monday in December. Now, it does allow Congress to change that date, but if you have the first Monday in December as the default date and you have elections in November, then really you're talking about the lame duck Congress having to meet. It's a very strange, error. I find it almost inexplicable. Is why should Congress be called into session after they've been voted out of office, or at least some of them have been voted out of office? So that was fixed because the original Constitution also said that the March 4th presidential inauguration date was the identical date to the new Congress starting. So the long lame duck period was for both the lame duck president and the lame duck Congress. And so the two things that get cleaned up here, not only does the presidential inauguration get moved to late January instead of early March, but also the new Congress gets seated even 2 weeks earlier than that. So the new Congress starts basically on the first business day after New Year's Day, and then they do the electoral count on January 20th. So it's the new Congress doing the electoral count, because you also had this awkwardness if the Congress and the president, if their term started the same day, then the new Congress would be getting seated and getting sworn in, and then just immediately as their first thing, having to do the electoral count. So it was a little bit easier to let the Congress settle in for a couple weeks, and it did solve this, by now totally unnecessary problem of having a super long lame duck, because by the 30s people could get to Washington a lot faster than in the 18th century. I think the one other sort of interesting historical fact I found, that Wilson was worried about it in 1916. So when Woodrow Wilson was president in 1916, there was a close election, and he considered that he could lose that election. And he was worried about the continuity of government because we're in the middle of World War I. So he's thinking what's going to happen if we have to have this long lame duck period right in the middle of World War I. And he actually concocted a plan. Maybe no modern president would have the humility to do this, but Wilson told his election opponent Charles Evans Hughes, who later became the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, that if Hughes defeated Wilson, then Wilson would ask the Secretary of State to resign. There'd be a vacancy. Wilson would appoint Hughes to the Secretary of State, and then both Wilson and his vice president would resign immediately. And then under the Presidential Succession Act, that would allow Hughes to take the presidency before the March 4th inauguration day. so that there could be quicker continuity of government and a more smooth transition during wartime. So that had been contemplated, but Wilson actually won the election, so that was never put into effect. And I don't really have a whole lot more to say about the 20th Amendment, but any other questions about it?
Well, I mean, it is one of those, I think today you almost think of it as being, well, obvious, like, as you had pointed out. And I think it is a good moment to pause again. We've said this a few times. You don't have to hate the American Constitution to recognize its imperfections, right? and you're absolutely right. The requirement of a lame duck Congress to meet is one of those elements. But fortunately, this was still that kind of era of cleaning those things up. But really, as many scholars have said this, the 20th Amendment has worked so well. We've had no issues with it, and no one thinks about it.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Although we have had some issues with the actual electoral count itself, but that's not because of the 20th Amendment.
Unfortunately, I have to interrupt myself and Ken because that brings us to the end of our ad-supported exclusive show for supporters. So if you want to listen to the rest of this episode with me and Ken, you're going to have to become a supporter of the Politics Guys. That won't just get you access to this episode, but every single episode that we do, including all of mine and Ken's Constitution shows. And I'd love you to have access to all of it by becoming a member of the Politics Guys. So how do you do that? Well, take a look at the show notes and click through and become a supporter, or head to patreon.com/politicsguys or to politicsguys.com/support. You can also always email us at mail@politicsguys.com if you need to have the access to the show, but are just not in the financial position to do that right now. But again, head to politicsguys.com/support or patreon.com/politicsguys and find your level of support, become part of our Discord group, so much more. But right now, really quickly, you can unlock the rest of this and every other Constitution Show episode, plus all the other bonus shows from all the other Politics Guys. So if you would be so good as to do that, you'll get the rest of that right now. In the meantime, I'm going to give a big shout out to the executive producers of the Politics Guys, and they are Wilmer Marino, Daniel Toe, Ryan Beasley, Don Oglesby, Derek Schmidt, Dakota Heath, Jason Chrysler, Dave Dean, Kathy Anderson, and Jeremy Larson. Thank you each so much for being an executive producer. We'll be back with a full, unabridged episode this weekend, as we always are. I hope you'll join us then.
This podcast is part of the Democracy Group,